This episode is sponsored by The Alcohol Experiment, a free 30-day challenge designed to interrupt your patterns, give you control, restore your health, and put you back in touch with the version of you who doesn't need alcohol to cope, relax, or enjoy life. More than 220,000 people have already tried The Alcohol Experiment for themselves and have seen improved sleep, increased happiness, reduced anxiety, and so much more. Join thousands in this inspiring, hopeful, and exciting program where you examine your beliefs and reconnect with the best version of you without ever feeling like you're missing out. Start today for free at alcoholexperiment.com. Hi, this is Annie Grace, and welcome to This Naked Mind podcast. I'm here with Michael. How are you, Michael?
Yeah. Hi, Annie. Yeah, I'm very well. Thank you. How are you?
I'm great. Good to have you here. So why don't you sort of take us back to the beginning with your journey in alcohol? Where did it all start for you?
Right. Wow. Crikey. After hearing other people's stories, crikey. Yes, I kind of know where to start. So, well, I was born in 77 and I grew up in the 80s and 90s, a little rural town in Cheshire, but we were quite close to the big cities of Liverpool, Manchester. Chester wasn't far away. I was aware of alcohol because my dad went down to the pub and the club. I can remember, like, even at 8 years old, like my mum and dad having a New Year's Eve party. And I can remember going down in the morning to get myself a drink, and there was like empty beer bottles and things. Although my mum was never a big drinker, my dad used to probably drink most weekends, not to the point where he'd be staggering up the road, but I'd ask where he was, and my mum would say, "Oh, your dad's got down to the club for a few hours." So, but where it started with me was probably like a lot of teenagers in the 90s. Really, it started with my friends, just getting maybe a bottle of cider, and we'd try it. I could even remember sort of being on a foreign holiday about 12, and my dad letting me try his beer, in Spain or Greece or somewhere, and like everybody says, the taste was horrible, wasn't it? It was like, oh, but anyway, moving on to that. So yeah, I can remember getting drunk when I was about 14 or 15 with some guys that were in our high school. And that was it, really. I can remember just it being quite a horrible experience. I can sort of remember rolling around on this supermarket car park, and then I think my mum had to come and pick us up because somebody had called my mum. And then you sort of roll forward a few years, you get to like 16, 17. And we were sort of allowed in the pubs at that age because we weren't really ID'd. And the laws in the UK, you've worked over here and stuff, and it's like, it's 18, it's not like it is in the States. So, you could probably get away with it, especially if you went into the pub with some older guys. You'd get a sneaky maybe half a beer or a pint. As long as you were no trouble, you could sit in the corner and you could have a game of snooker and have a game of pool. And because like I was well known in the village where I grew up, people sort of knew my dad and knew my older sister and knew my uncle, and knew the family. So it was people would turn a blind eye, really. Fast forward again another few years, you get to your working life, and friends go off to university and things. So every weekend we were at a different university. We were like, oh, let's go up to Durham. Let's go up to Newcastle. Let's go to Nottingham. Let's go over to Manchester. Let's go and visit so-and-so in London, and like weekends were just, it was, but we always showed up for work on a Monday. We always showed up for our weekend jobs, or, whatever we were doing. That none of that, you could get in at 3 a.m. and still turn up for work at 8 o'clock. Well, I could anyway. That's how it was. But the weekend started like on a Thursday night. You could quite easily get caught up in like a 3 or 4 day weekend. But yeah, it was just water off a duck's back at that age. I thought it was just like, yeah, that's just it, because everybody does it. My older sister did it, and her friends. My dad had a few beers when you go on holiday, and that's another thing as well. You start going back to my 20s again. We'd fly off to Ibiza for the weekend and the week, and to all the Spanish islands or the Greek islands, and it was just like literally a week of partying from from the moment you landed to the moment you got home, and that was like sort of drinking from lunchtime onwards every day. You guys have the spring break and stuff, don't you? It's kind of the same over here, but with the Spain and with the Greece thing. Or even over to Turkey or wherever. plus the booze was cheap then. I can remember like the foreign currency, like the peseta and the drachma to the pound. You were like, you could go there with literally a few £100 and, say $500. And you could absolutely that was your boozing for the whole week. You could, food wasn't even, now I go on holiday. Food's a big part of my holiday. It's like we're choosing the restaurant, where are we going to go? Then it was just, let's grab a pizza, let's grab a burger, let's grab a kebab, and so yeah, but the thing is as well about the boozing, drugs were involved as well, like party drugs, I'm not about like, we weren't injecting heroin or anything. It was like ease, smoking a bit of weed, things like that, and there was a rave scene over here, you probably know about it. It was like house music. So we were going to all these like disused warehouses in our early 20s, and like proper sort of like commercial clubs as well. And they realized how much money was involved in it. These corporates, they was, it was quite a thing. And like all these DJs were there. And we'd think, like on the shit, well, with a bit of shame attached to this as well, we'd think nothing about driving home at 3 a.m, down the motorway. Even I can remember, this was a story. I mean, God, I'm not sure how in depth you want me to go here, but we were driving down the motorway at 3 a.m, and I don't think we'd had that much booze, but we definitely had some gear. And one of the guys in the car in front, because we were going back to a house party, he vomited out of his car window. And because it was January, it was like it froze and hit my windscreen, but I had no water in the washer jets. So I can remember me and my friends stood on the bonnet of the car, weeing, urinating on the, to clear the windscreen. And we were laughing about it. It was just, we were young lads, and that's just how it was back then. But yeah, fast forward, sort of keep going into like the mid-20s now. That's just how life was for many years. We showed up for work. I bought a house, I was doing the right things. I was looking around, and that's what everybody else was doing. So I didn't really feel out of place, really. I got married to my first wife when I was about 30, and then Louis was born when I was 32. I carried on. I used to go out with my father-in-law to the golf club, the cricket club. We had a little place in North Wales at the time. So the weekends were the same. I'd go and have a game of golf, and then we'd go back to the clubhouse and have a few beers, and then we'd get back and we'd meet my wife and my mother-in-law. We'd have a barbecue, and that had involved beers and wine, and then Julie and myself split up. So we're talking like 2010 now, I'd say, maybe 2008, 2009. And then we split up. I moved back to my childhood village, got myself on my feet again, sorted the money out. I met my current wife. And that sort of like into my 30s as well was kind of the same. Catherine and myself would get on the train into Liverpool of a weekend. We drank together, our friends. We'd organise horse racing days. But everything, when I think about it now, Annie, everything was everything was booze. The booze was like the social lubricant of it was, oh yeah, great. Or what we'll do. I can remember doing champagne breakfast for my friends before the horse racing, thinking we were like super classy, I was like, it's crazy, isn't it? I was like, so it was funny because I WhatsApp the guys or whatever, and I'd say, right, okay, we're doing a champagne breakfast, so we'd have bacon sandwiches, and then we'd all have champagne. We'd all get on the minibus to the race course. We'd all have bets all day, and then we'd come back. We'd watch you call it soccer. We'd watch the football, and then that was the day that we'd all pile back to our house, and it'd be carrying on, and people were asleep on the sofa. I mean, we were in the 30s at this point, like 35, and then like hangovers weren't like they were in the 20s. You didn't just like shake them off, and hangovers would last for days, but that's when, so I said that's when I'd probably say about 32, so a couple of years before all that. So yeah, I'd say I started really struggling with my mental health, like my anxiety. I started feeling nervous and jumpy, and like there was something always wrong. But it was never the booze, it was always something else in my life. It was always like I wasn't happy with my job, or I wasn't happy with, like one of my friends had upset me, or I was having a bit of sort of, issues with whatever, the builders, or it was always something else other than other than the booze. So I started having a sniff around then really at things. And, I Googled, like a lot of people do, alcohol and mental health. And, you start making these little, totally way before your book. And, because back then it was very black and white. You were either an alcoholic or you weren't, say back then, there's always been like a sober bunch of people. But what I'm trying to say is, there's a massive grey area as well, isn't there? I think with the, alcoholism. So anyway, I had a go at moderating maybe. And then I had a go at a sniff round. I found like Kevin O'Hara. And do you know Kevin, the Irish guy? Yeah, he's cool. Yeah. And Craig Beck. And then I just sort of like, oh, well, I'm okay. I don't drink so much these days, and when I do, it might only be like once or twice a month, and I've cut down a bit. But one thing, Annie, in my sort of early to mid 30s, I took up a lot of running again, because when I was with my first wife, somehow I ended up a bit overweight. I wasn't doing much exercise because I used to play a lot of football as a teenager, and I was quite a good runner as a kid. So that really helped with the mental health. So I thought with my running, I thought I can still have a drink as well, because my running's like great for my mental health. So I'd do something great in the week. I'd go for 3 runs, I'd sign up for a half a marathon. I've done a few marathons as well. But I was still drinking at the weekends, you see. So my Monday and Tuesday and Wednesdays were still miserable, and so yeah, fast forward again, probably like to my, we're in 2022 now. So in 2018, I bought your book from a Google search, and I think someone mentioned it on Twitter, or and I had a little nosy at it, liked it, sort of read it, but didn't quite take it in. Consciously read it, without all the kind of unconscious things being sort of what's the word, like I'm trying to think of the word really, like just. Anyway, I'll move on. It'll come to me in a minute, I'm sure. So yeah, well, without all like the it being unwrapped really properly for me to see with my own eyes properly, fully. So and then the pandemic hit in 2019. Sorry, 20. Yeah, 20. Was it 2019? 2020. Sorry, March 2020. So obviously lockdown came. Probably the same for you guys. I was off work for 6 weeks. So that was like the March till the May. And we had grand ideas of like doing some renovations on the house. So we knew a builder, and it was all like, we had the money ready to go. So we were like, we've got a south-facing garden. So we wanted to open it all up, to have some bifold doors, have the kitchen done. There's a nice space for the kids now, the teenagers. Rebecca's 16 this year, Louis 14, Adam's 21, Catherine's son. He doesn't live with us, but I thought it's a nice safe space for the kids. It's, they can have the friends round, and but because Catherine was working upstairs, Catherine's my wife, in this office where we are now, I was off. So at like 3 o'clock in the afternoon, when Catherine would finish, I'd have some beers in the fridge ready to go, and a bottle of wine. And it was like, we had glorious weather over in the UK. It was like, it was quite unbelievable, really, for that early in the spring. In April, it was like over 20 degrees every day. Sorry, I mean, I went back to work in May, and some of the people said, look at the colour of you. I said, well, I've been out in the garden all afternoon drinking, and then the building work started, and the stress with that. We had a few problems. We had a few issues with our kitchen guy. So I was like, I can remember Catherine and me, we set up a little bistro table in the kitchen amongst all the plasterboard and all the electrics hanging out, and all, and stuff boxes were everywhere. We couldn't find anything. I can remember we sat there and we're just drinking wine and eating takeaway pizza, because we had no oven for a few weeks and things. And it was just like, I mean, it was good fun. It wasn't all bad. But I can remember a couple of years before that, when I bought your book, a couple of, I am going back into a little bit here. I am aware of that, but hopefully you can follow it. I did take a few breaks from alcohol. I took I can remember having I did 48 days because it was from Catherine's birthday, which is mid-June, to when we went to Spain early August. And it was like nearly 50 days. And I can remember we went away with a friend who's a little bit older than myself and his daughter, who's about 10 years younger than us. So me and my wife are over in Spain, and I've not had a drink for I'd say nearly 50 days. So when Ross and Alice came out to us, we were already been there a day. So they turned up, they checked in the hotel, we text them, they followed us down to this bar. We were already quite tipsy come 1 o'clock in the afternoon because we were with another couple that we knew. And, it's just the south coast of Spain is like that, it's just rows of bars and beaches and things. And that's pretty much what I did all week. After having 50 days off and feeling great, I ended up having to the point where we were at the Argentinian restaurant, 2 days later, Ross said to me, "Jesus, Mike," he went, "You're pissed." I know you Americans say pissed when you're angry with somebody, but yeah, I know was because I was in this restaurant at 9 o'clock at night with my sunglasses on, and I was slurring my words, and that was after a 50-day break, and then I had a few again, and then I came home and I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a go at moderating. I played that game for a while. Right, I'm just going to drink beer. I'm just going to drink at the weekends. I'm just going to drink on a Saturday. I'm just going to drink when we go away for the weekend, or, and I offered to drive as well to places purposely to stop me drinking. Oh, I'm going to drive tonight, and that was cool. I was happy to do that. But then, going forward again to where we were before about the building work going on, the lockdown, and then borders started to open up again sort of in the summer. So, we sort of just threw a dart somewhere and we were like, right, okay, where can we go? Oh, Turkey's open. We'll fly to Turkey. We'll take the kids. So we pays the money. We turns up at the airport. We ended up getting a great deal because obviously the travel industry had been sort of decimated, hadn't it, over the summer. People hadn't gone. People were still on furlough and stuff. Countries weren't letting you in. I know you guys in the States, it was quite a while before Brits could come over there for leisure. Work was a bit different, I suppose. But so yeah, we 5-star hotel right on the beach in Turkey, all inclusive. And I'm not a fan of all inclusive. It was just what was sort of on the menu at the time, kind of thing, when we booked the holiday. So the first couple of days was great. There wasn't many Brits in the hotel at all. There was a lot of Eastern European families and stuff, but it was great. So I'd find myself crawl into the bar at 1 o'clock and just I'm just going to get a drink, love, and I'd slip off and go and get a drink. And then, Catherine would have a drink at 2 or 3 in the afternoon. And then, come 6 o'clock, we were up in the room getting ready to, I'd have a drink on the balcony because they'd fill your fridges up. And then the kids were ready. We'd all go out with our nice tans and our nice new clothes, and we'd go to a restaurant. Same again, we'd order a bottle of wine. We'd come back to the hotel after seeing the village and having a nice meal. And then we'd have a nightcap, and then I was waking up on holiday I was a bit rough. But sort of halfway through the holiday, we got some Land Rover Defenders and we went up to the reservoirs on this mountain. And it was right out in the middle of nowhere, and it was fantastic. These Turkish ladies were doing the kids' pancakes and chocolate, and it was we were with a family from Surrey, which is near London, as you probably know. And that was a great day. We went to a natural water park. We off these diving boards, off these rocks, and the kids loved it. And I hadn't had a drink. And I thought, this is great. But when we got back to the hotel, me and the guy, we started having a few beers. Well, this carried on through the night to the point where the next morning, when I went to get the coffees for breakfast and take them up to Catherine, I went and had a Bloody Mary at 9:30 in the morning just to calm me down because I felt so jittery because I was hungover from the night before. And I've never drunk in the morning, especially something like a hard liquor like vodka. I might have had a sort of a beer at 11 o'clock in Spain or something, but that was just to make myself feel better. And we were on the sun lounges in the afternoon, and I felt like I was drunk, basically. And Catherine said to me, she went, Michael, you're slurring your words. And I said, oh, sorry. I didn't realise. I went, oh, I'll stop drinking now. Even though I'd said it, I didn't stop drinking. I went to the bar and got myself a JD and Coke in the afternoon. And, I'm with two teenage kids and and I'm on holiday. And I thought, I've worked all year for this. This is our time when the kids are away from school. I thought, what am I doing? So anyway, I was that drunk that afternoon. I don't even remember the entertainment at the hotel. And it was a fantastic show, apparently. And the kids enjoyed it. So we goes back to the room. And I can remember we were going on a boat trip the next day to see this. We were probably going quite a few miles to another harbour to see another village, and there was like a pirate show on as well. And I had to go to the ATM because they couldn't accept debit cards. And I can remember walking to the ATM in Turkey in August, so it's like 40 degrees, and I'm hungover to shit. And I'm like thinking, what am I doing? I feel awful. And I'm shaking, putting my card in the machine to get myself a few £100 or whatever I needed. And I'm walking back to the hotel, and Catherine's getting the kids ready and putting the sun cream on the kids. And I'm like, oh, I thought, this has got to stop. I can't do this anymore. What am I doing? So the holiday finished a couple of days later, and I come home, and we had a pre-planned barbecue on the Saturday. So we got home on the Wednesday. So 2 or 3 days later, we had the barbecue, and it was only some close friends. There was probably 10 of us maximum. So I can remember drinking, but I didn't have too much. And I remember Catherine saying to me, she said, I'm just having Diet Coke. She'd have a vodka, and then she'd have a couple of Diet Cokes, and then she'd have a vodka. So she was consciously not getting drunk. She was having a couple of drinks, but and I didn't go mad. Anyway, the next day we were driving down the motorway Catherine was driving because she had way less than I had. Even though I probably wasn't over the legal limit, I just didn't feel well enough to be on the road. And we had Louis in the car, who was 12 at the time. So we were going over to my mum's for Sunday lunch. And Catherine said to me, she says, I don't feel well. She says, do you mind driving? And I was like, oh, do you really need me to? She said, I really need you to. She went, I won't say anything now. I'll tell you when Louis is out of earshot. So we pulled over on the hard shoulder of the motorway. We swapped places. I drove. I took it nice and steady. We got to my mum's, and then I ended up taking Catherine to A&E to get checked out. My mum, there's a local hospital near my mum in Cheshire, and it's this fab little hospital. She was in and out within a couple of hours. Tests and whatever. She was fine, but we still don't know what it was. She just felt really shaky and dizzy, and she felt like pins and needles in her left arm, but all the tests, it was fine. So luckily, I can remember sat on the car park in the hospital, and it was a red hot August day in the UK. It was like, as you guys say, it was probably in the mid 70s. So I think we know that in our money at like 20 something degrees. And I remember thinking, I'm done with alcohol. I'm done with it. And when I think you did, didn't you? Just know, other than when you did that experiment on your own that day. So I just kind of knew that was it. So I was off work for another week then, because we had a shutdown for our company. The company closes for 3 weeks in the summer. Or they did then. It's 2 weeks now, but that doesn't matter. And I can remember the Monday, I sat in the garden and I read your book in about a full day. It might have been, flicking back the day before, but I pretty much nailed it in the day. And there's all my notes, all little pages, little highlights, all my little, and it just kind of all sunk in. But before I read your book the last time, I'd listened to the podcasts, I'd listened to, seen your YouTube channel for a couple of years before that. I was sort of listening to you, and it was all sort of adding to what I already knew. The advertising, the alcohol advertising industry. They don't spend 2.2 billion a year if it doesn't work right. There's all, and you think, I've had the wool pulled over my eyes here for years. I'm like, like what Craig Beck says, it's fancily packaged poison, and all these things are like dropping in. I'm like, oh yeah. And that's why I feel anxious, because I'm ruining my homeostasis. I'm like, it's all like, oh yeah, it's basically like I'm chucking a full can of Coke over my laptop. That's what's happening here, and that's the laptop's my brain, and that's why I'm short with people, and then I'm like, oh, I'm a bit irritable, and it's funny really, Annie, because only in January just gone, my best friend came up with his wife, and we see them a few times a year. We always have done for years and years. They're a great couple, and he was a bit sort of not standoffish. He was a bit sort of like, when I gave up drinking, he sort of like, he couldn't get his head around it. But he said to me in the January, we're in a little acoustic bar near us, and I'm ordering my lime and soda, and they're all drinking their alcohol, and I'm like, I'm having a great time. There's a guy on a guitar, and I'm enjoying it. And he said to me, he said, you know what, Mike? He says, I love it that you don't drink. He says, you're a far better person. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, look, he said, I had some great conversations with you. And, he said, I said, why was I a bit of a dickhead like a bit of a knobhead when I drank? He said, not all the time. He says, you're just probably like anybody, He says, but now, he said, because you're not like up and down, are you? Doing you've not got the real mad highs, hyper, and then the real lows of like, you're just more, it's more of a plateau, isn't it? And the only way sort of past things is through, isn't it, with life? And you see things. I know it drowns out the bad things, but it drowns out the good things too, doesn't it? The amount of times I've been to gigs, and I've been to like I was a big Liverpool fan. I still am a big Liverpool fan. And I'd go to like a Liverpool and Manchester United match, and these tickets, you couldn't get them. They were like, there was hundreds of thousands of people wanted to go. But I was lucky, I knew a few people and stuff, and I can remember like I'd have 4 or 5 beers before I'd get into the ground, and then I'd spend my time going to the loo, going to the lavatory, while I was there, missing 10 minutes of the game, missing 15 minutes of the game, excusing past people, because back then as well, it was standing in the grounds before like, you could stand up at football matches too. It's absolutely, it's bonkers is what it is. But this book for me, it's a game changer. And I know loads of people have said that as well, but it really is. And I've told so many people about it. There's guys at work reading it now, and they go, oh, I've just bought Annie Grace book. Yeah, I'm still drinking, and I'm still, that's fine. That's up to you from a non-judgment. Put my false teeth in, from a non-judgmental point of view. It's, you crack on and drink, but for me, drinking's no more. And I know you say you never say that you're never going to drink again, but I just don't want to. I've got all the tools now. I seem to know enough. And people who say to me as well, oh, do you not fancy one? And I go, well, what's the point? Because I'm going to like feel a bit tipsy for 30 minutes to an hour. And then I'm going to feel shit for like the next sort of like 2 or 3 hours. It's going to disrupt my sleep. It was funny actually, because we just got back from Scotland in last May. So yeah, nearly 12 months ago. And we were in the pub, and it was a Sunday afternoon, and there was a band on, and it was a lovely day. It was the bank holiday weekend here. And a guy came stumbling who we know. I was in Dublin with him a couple of years earlier. So yeah, we're friendly. And he says, what are you drinking in that glass? And I said, it's lime and soda, Jim. And he looked at my wife, he says, bloody lime and soda. He said, God, he says, is he boring now, Catherine? And Catherine said, no, Jim, he's far from boring. And it was like, I just thought it was nice to hear that, when, I said, there's nothing more boring, mate, than staying in bed with an hangover all day. I said, that's boring. So he sort of laughed, and, he bounced off every wall, ordered his curry from the Indian restaurant next door. And then I could see him stumbling in a taxi. So, it's funny really as well, because I have lost a few friends through it as well. And I know you said that too.
Yeah.
That, you find out it's the only glue holding you together is that you like going out for a few bevies together. And, there's nothing sort of deep and meaningful to it. It's you're drinking buddies at the end of the day. And that's what we found. But luckily, I've hung on to a lot of friends too. like, and they're cool with me not drinking. It doesn't bother them. They don't even ask what's in the glass. They're not bothered. Even it's funny actually, because there's one guy I know when he says, it was my birthday in January, and he goes to the bar and he says, "Do you want another glass of coriander and piss?" And that's what he calls my lime and soda. And I'm like, well, it's like, come on, I've not been drinking now for it'll be 21 months at the start of May. So yeah, and he still calls it coriander and piss, and he couldn't get it because he just would not understand. He doesn't understand. He doesn't get it, But we still see them. We still go to the pub and stuff. And but it's funny, really, because the main people who've got the problem with it, ask and all the question. They're the main people who've got a problem with it. I think, they're the ones like with the real issue. Everyone else, a lot of people they don't bother. They're fine. But yeah, anyway.
I love that.
That's pretty much my journey, other than, yeah. I mean, I've got stories everywhere, of being sick on the bedroom floor at my mum's house, and it was just, they're just sort of car crash nights out, aren't they, I guess?
So if you were going to go back and talk to yourself that was sick on the bedroom floor and in your mom's house, and, especially with the fits and starts of which, at least in my experience, create all this mental drama of blaming yourself and feeling super stuck. And what would you tell him about what life is like now?
Well, it's a whole new world. It's kind of like the 1939 film The Wizard of Oz, isn't it? You're sort of like, you're in this black and white world, and that's just the way it is. And then you've just got this magic on the other side of it, and I just find like I'm finding so much like joy in the little things. I go out like running at like 5:30 in the morning. At this time of the year, it's just coming light in the UK because we're that far north. And, you can hear the birds singing, and it's like, I just love being able to, like, my sister called me the other week and she was having an issue over one thing and another. And it was just great on a Saturday night that I was there at the end of the phone and I wasn't in some loud pub saying, "I can't hear you, man. I can't," it was just nice. I was able to give us some advice. And my son says to me as well, I'm a better dad. Not that I was a bad dad, but I'm just a better dad, I'm present, and my daughter now, she's at the age where she's my stepdaughter, but, I've brought her up myself since she was 4 with my wife. And it was the other Saturday night and she's just started seeing this guy and it's all new, and they're like the 16 and everything's like lovely in the world for them. So they're sitting there, high school exams soon, excuse me. And well, Jason was round and they had some food and whatever. And it was dark. And I said, "Listen, Jason," I said, "do you want a lift home?" And he said, "Oh, that'd be great." And it was just nice because I was there to help my daughter out because she was happy that her boyfriend got a ride home and he was happy. And if I'd had a few beers, I wouldn't have been able to do that, and also something could have happened that night, to him, or you know what I mean? Not that it's dangerous around here, but you just don't know, do you? And you think, well, I think like the word present keeps coming to. I'm present all the time. And Kath, my wife, she's like, she loves it. She says, "I've got a driver." She said, "It's great. We can go off for these days out. We don't have to get taxis or pre-arrange hotels, or, we can get off in the car and go to because where we live, we could be in the Peak District, the Lake District, Scotland in a few hours. We could be over to the Republic of Ireland in, an hour, or we could be in Wales, Liverpool, Manchester, all within, a few hours. So yeah, we can just get in the car and off we go. It's great." But I would, it's funny really, Annie, because we were in Greece last summer, and there was a guy at the pool bar, and he was playing chess, and he just ordered a nice cold pint of Mythos beer, and it come out of this. I looked at it and I thought, "Oh God, I could murder one of them." And then I had a swim, dried off, and went back to my sun lounge, and I walked past this guy, and there was probably like a third of a pint left in his, whatever. And it was warm and flat and it looked disgusting. And I was like, I'm so glad I didn't go down that road and order one, but I wouldn't anyway. But I had some amaretto in a dessert though, but that didn't seem to bother me. And I have had a taste of my wife's cocktail, literally just a straw, and yeah, it was pleasant enough. It was nice, but I've got no desire to go and order a drink and drink it on my own, or drink it by, order myself a pint of beer or a cocktail or a glass of wine. I've just no desire. And I've had 5 sober holidays now. I've been to Scotland, I've been to Greece twice. We've just been over to Dubai, and it's funny really because it's a good job I don't drink alcohol, because it was £18 for a glass of wine in Dubai, which is about $25. So, it'd give Manhattan a run for its money, really, when it comes to alcohol prices. So, yeah, it was, so all good this end.
Oh, that's so cool. That's amazing. I love that. Well, gosh, thanks so much, Michael. Do you have anything else you want to add in? You're a great storyteller, by the way.
I'm a great what, sorry?
Storyteller.
Oh, storyteller.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I won't get you. I won't subject you to my jokes tonight. We'll save that for another time. But yeah, I've just a few things. I've read a lot more. I've got because I do a bit of traveling back and to my job. I can easily stick an audio book in the car, and I'm just consuming all the quit lit. And I've just I don't know whether you've. That was a great book, Jordan Peterson, 12 Rules of Life. That's fantastic. And I'm just consuming book. And I found that I'm going back to stuff that I used to do as a child. I picked up the guitar again. I like to read. I've contemplated by myself some pencils and sketch pads recently and think, because I used to draw with my granddad at the back of their house as a child. And you just, I'm not saying I'm regressing, but you go, that is what you naturally loved, isn't it? Before the world got hold of you, and the big wheel of the alcohol industry. But yeah, I'm working towards a little bit of a career change as well. It's not going to be an overnight thing, but yeah, it's something to keep me busy. I've got my first exam in a few weeks, so that's going to be cool. So yeah, it's I just did some notes, but I think they've pretty much got everything in really. I love William Porter's book as well. Alcohol Explained. I thought that was fabulous. But this Naked Mind for me, it just spelled it out, and the little diagrams, of like alcohol, you're there, and then alcohol will get you there, but it knocks you down to there, and then if you have a drink, it only gets you up to there, but knocks you down to there again, and it's so true. It's to me, it's true. Somebody else might say it's not, but to me, I love it. It's great. And I'll keep on recommending it as long as I live. So, because I see some people, right, Annie, and they're and I'm not sort of being disrespectful, but they have like a golden hour, where they get to the pub or the bar or whatever, the cafe or and they'll be okay, and then they'll have a couple of pints and they'll have a big stupid grin on the face like a Cheshire cat, and then they'll tell a few jokes and we'll have a bit of laugh, and then sort of like a few hours later, you can see the whole body language change, where like they slouch, their eyes start rolling, they repeat themselves, and that's usually my time to get the car keys and go, because I'm like, nothing good happens after 10 o'clock. It's one of them. It's like, and the next morning you hear the horror stories of like so-and-so falling in a hedge, and them two had an argument, and and oh God, and oh, guess where I woke up? I woke up on their sofa, and you're like, oh no, I did all that in my 20s, and I'm done. I'm totally done, and it's great, and I'm looking forward to. I mean, I'm 45 now, so I'm looking forward to my next 20 or 30 years. If God willing, I live that long, and yeah, and just I talk to the kids about drinking too. They're at the age now, and I've said to Louise, she's had a taste of cider, and Rebecca, she's had a taste of wine, and so on. And all I can do is be an example. They're going to do it when they go off to their universities or in the working world or whatever they do. They're going to do it. So the way I see it, all I can do is talk to them about my experience, and yeah. So that's where we're at.
Well, thank you so much, Michael. It's been really fun. I really enjoyed getting to know you and your story, and it's just been
Welcome.
awesome.
It's nice to meet you, Annie. I've seen you on YouTube, and you've been coming through my car speakers for years, so it's
Great. It's
nice to
awesome.
have a chat with you. So yeah, cool.
Hi, super exciting news. So the Alcohol Experiment book is being released, actually got released just a few days ago with the expanded edition. What does expanded edition mean? It means that every single day throughout the book, there are deep reflective journal entries that have been added with space to write, which is so cool and so exciting. So you really make it your own. And the reason I did this is because I truly believe that the deepest wisdom you will access throughout the 30 days of the Alcohol Experiment comes from within you. You know more about what's best for you than anybody else in the entire world. And I know sometimes that can be hard to believe, but when you really access your own wisdom, it is so profound. So you can pick up your own copy at alcoholexperimentbook.com and check it out. It's really powerful. And as always, rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast, as it truly helps the message reach somebody who might need to hear it today.